Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. You ever look around and think, this should be enough? That was me, Dave Carter, 38, married 6 years to Cindy, a sharp-talking marketer with a wine habit and a knack for making strangers like her in 10 seconds or less. We had a solid house in Austin, 2 newer cars, and a calendar full of social events, most of them hers. Cindy ran her own branding agency from home, which meant she wore blazers over sweatpants and called every phone call a strategy session. I worked logistics for a major distributor. Less flashy, more quiet wins. I liked systems, structure, solutions. Every month, we hosted game night with 4 other couples. Drinks, charcuterie boards, cheap wine dressed up in expensive glasses. Cindy called it community building. I called it being the unpaid caterer. I planned the evenings. I made the food. I cleaned before and after. Cindy floated around with a drink, snapped pics for her Instagram stories, and tossed credit around like confetti. Dave made the sliders, but I told him to add chipotle mayo. It was always like that. She had the ideas. I just executed. She liked to make jokes, and for a while I let it slide. Marriage is full of compromises. You laugh, you shrug, you let things go. But after a while, those little jokes started to feel like tiny knives. Always aimed at me, always in public, always with just enough truth to sting. I should have said something earlier, but when you're in it, you convince yourself it's not a big deal, that it's just her way. The night everything cracked, we were hosting again. I made steak flatbreads with balsamic glaze. They were a hit. People raved. Cindy floated around with her wine, phone in hand, snapping photos like she was covering a red carpet. I stepped into the kitchen to grab more wine. Wasn't gone more than a minute. I walked back toward the living room with the wine bottle in hand. The laughter hit me before I even stepped in. Loud, loose, the kind that gets reckless when people forget there are lines. Cindy was near the fireplace, holding court like it was open mic night. Everyone had their eyes on her. That's when I heard it. Okay, she laughed. 3 guesses. Who can figure out what Dave's working with? A few people groaned. 1 or 2 laughed. Kristen shook her head. Cindy, come on. But Cindy kept going. Seriously, it's not like he's here. She held up her fingers, maybe an inch apart. I swear, she said, smirking. It's like fun-sized. But hey, at least he's enthusiastic. The room cracked open with laughter. Kristen buried her face in a pillow. Marcus let out one of those uncomfortable groans people do when they're not sure if they should laugh or leave. Tara actually clapped. That's when I stepped into the room, still holding the bottle of wine. I didn't speak, didn't flinch. I just stood there, taking in a room full of people I'd grilled burgers for, painted guest rooms with, helped move furniture for, all of them staring at me now like I'd caught them cheating on a test. Cindy saw me. Her face froze for a half second, just long enough for me to know she realized she went too far. She opened her mouth to say something, maybe to laugh it off, maybe to pivot. But I set the bottle down on the counter and walked out of the room without saying a word. Upstairs, I grabbed my keys, left everything else. No bag, no charger, not even a jacket. Downstairs, the sound of forced small talk tried to patch over the silence I'd created. No one said a word as I passed through the front door. I didn't go back that night, didn't reply to her texts, didn't plan what came next, but I knew I was done playing the idiot for a cheap laugh. I stayed at James's apartment that night. He wasn't at the game night, which was part of why I went there. When he opened the door in gym shorts and a hoodie, he gave me a quick once-over, then didn't say much, just handed me a blanket and pointed at the couch. You hungry? He asked after a beat. I shook my head. Just tired. He nodded. Couch is yours. I lay there all night, staring at the ceiling. Cindy's voice kept looping in my head, laughing, holding up her fingers, letting the room explode around her while I wasn't even there to defend myself. She didn't just embarrass me, she turned my body into a party game. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Cindy. Are you serious right now? Another one came in 10 minutes later. You're going to ghost me over a dumb joke? Then another. You're being ridiculous. I didn't answer. The next morning, she started calling. I let the first 2 go to voicemail. On the third, I finally picked up. What? I said. Where the hell are you? Her voice was tight, sharp, like I'd embarrassed her. I'm fine, I said. Oh, good. Because I've been sitting here trying to figure out why my husband walked out over, what, a wine-fueled joke with friends? A joke? I repeated. Yes, Dave, a joke. People were laughing. It wasn't that deep. You didn't think it was. That's the problem. There was a pause. Then she said quietly, I didn't say anything that wasn't true. You act like I made it up. You made me a punchline. You think that's funny? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Another pause, longer this time. Then she said, You're being overly sensitive. I hung up. I didn't yell, didn't argue. I just ended the call and stared at my phone, realizing how calm I felt. I wasn't angry. I was done waiting for her to understand something she never would. The next day, I started separating my life from hers. Nothing dramatic, no big announcements, just quiet moves. I opened a new checking account, changed the passwords on my personal email, and backed up the photos I actually cared about. Unlinked my name from anything joint that didn't need to be. It was like closing doors, one at a time, while she still thought the house was intact. Cindy kept texting like nothing had really changed. So, are you planning on coming home tonight? Then later, we have Dana and Marcus's thing on Saturday. Don't make it weird. It was like she thought I was cooling off, waiting to come back and play nice. Like this was just another argument she'd win by waiting me out. I stayed with James another week, told him I'd be gone before his girlfriend flew in for her visit. No rush, he said, but if you want advice, start looking at leases now. Nothing worse than going back because the couch wore you down. He was right. I started browsing apartments. Then came Saturday. Marcus and Dana were hosting. Game night. Same group. Cindy texted in the afternoon. Just a heads up, everyone's expecting us. Don't be dramatic. I almost didn't go, but part of me wanted to see it, to see if she'd learned anything. Maybe an apology. Maybe some awkward acknowledgement that what happened crossed a line. I showed up alone. The room got quiet when I walked in, like I'd arrived at the wrong time. Cindy smiled too wide. Hey, look who showed up. I gave a nod, said hi to the others, kept my voice even. It didn't take long. Someone asked how work was going. I opened my mouth to answer, but Cindy cut in. He's been doing a lot of deep thinking lately, she said with a smirk. Really getting in touch with his sensitive side. A few people chuckled. That was enough. I stood up, walked out, and didn't look back. No storm out, no parting shot. The next morning, I logged into the shared cloud account to remove my email and disconnect from the photo storage. That was the plan. But when I opened the settings, I saw her messages were still syncing. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. It didn't take long to find them. Weeks of texts between Cindy and Tara. The same Tara who laughed the hardest at her little performance by the fireplace. The same one who always said, "You two are so good together." It was all there, mocking me, laughing about that night, replaying it like a highlight reel. Tara had texted, "You're wild for saying that out loud, LOL." Cindy replied, "I mean, someone had to say it. He's been acting like he's God's gift lately. I just brought him back to reality." Another thread, worse than the first. Sometimes I feel like I'm parenting a golden retriever. Loyal, enthusiastic, clueless. They didn't just laugh at my expense. They dissected me, my body, my habits, my quietness. The worst one came after I left that second game night. Cindy wrote, "You'd think after that little stunt he pulled, he'd grow a pair. But no, still, Mr. Passive." Tara responded, "At least he's good for steaks and groceries." And Cindy wrote, "Barely that." I didn't get angry. I got still. I took screenshots, dozens of them, saved them to a folder. Not because I wanted revenge, because I knew at some point she'd rewrite the story, turn me into the unstable one, the guy who just snapped. I picked one screenshot and texted it to her. No caption. She called within minutes. "What the hell is this? Why are you going through my messages?" I didn't answer. "You're invading my privacy, Dave. That's low, even for you." I ended the call without a word, then set the phone down face down on the counter. James came back from a run and found me sitting at the kitchen counter. "You good?" he asked. I slid the phone across the table. He scrolled for 10 seconds before shaking his head. "She really said all that?" I nodded. "Yeah. Well, I guess now you know what she says when you're not in the room." After that, I didn't respond to Cindy again. Not to the texts, not to the calls, not to the sudden barrage of voice messages that started as angry and quickly shifted to tearful. I just went quiet. She posted some vague quote on Instagram, something about betrayal and trust and how people change. I didn't comment, but I noticed none of our close friends liked it either. That was when the story started slipping out. Not because I said anything, but because someone else did. I'm guessing it was James's girlfriend. He had shown her the texts, and let's just say she's not known for keeping things quiet. Within a week, I got a message from Kristen. "Hey, I'm really sorry. I had no idea it was like that." Then Marcus reached out. "Man, I owe you an apology. That night at our place, I should have said something. It wasn't cool." I didn't respond to either of them. Cindy, on the other hand, doubled down. She sent me a wall of text one afternoon, said I was turning our friends against her, that I had no right to leak private conversations and make her out to be the villain. But I didn't need to make her the villain. She'd done that herself. By the end of the week, I'd met with a lawyer and filed for divorce. There was no big fight, no dramatic confrontation. I told her through email and sent the paperwork. She didn't contest it, just signed where she had to. I went back once to grab my things. She wasn't there. Out running errands, maybe. Better for both of us. I packed what I needed, clothes, some tools I didn't want to leave behind, and whatever else I could fit in the trunk. She never followed up. No text, no call, nothing but silence. Same as I gave her, same as she gave me for years. Every time I was the punchline and she thought that was love. About a month after I moved out, Cindy asked to meet. Neutral ground, she said, somewhere public. We picked a quiet cafe, one of those spots with exposed brick, pour-over coffee, and slow jazz humming in the background. She was already sitting when I walked in, makeup light, expression somewhere between nervous and rehearsed. I sat down across from her. No hug, no small talk. She opened with, "You didn't have to humiliate me." I raised an eyebrow. Interesting choice of words. I mean it. Everyone's talking. People think I'm cruel. I stayed quiet. She took a breath. "I know I said some things I shouldn't have. I was venting, joking. You know how I get when I drink. You were sober when you typed those messages." She flinched at that. "Okay, fine. I was angry. I felt like you weren't giving me anything emotionally. You shut down all the time. And that justifies making me a joke?" "No," she said quickly. "It doesn't. I know that. I'm not proud of it. But I'm saying it wasn't just about the joke, Dave. It was everything piling up. Except I wasn't the one piling it up." She didn't respond, just looked down at her untouched coffee. "I miss you," she said finally, voice small. "I don't even know who I am without you." I nodded slowly. "You'll figure it out. But I'm not your safety net anymore." She looked up, eyes shiny. "So, that's it?" "I think we both said what we needed to," I replied. "Only difference is, I meant mine." I stood, left cash on the table, and walked out. No shouting, no dramatic send-off. Outside, the sun was bright, sharp. I drove back to my new place, quiet, clean, no ghosts in the walls. I made dinner, ate on the couch, turned my phone off. That night, I slept better than I had in years. No noise, no tension, just silence. And this time, it felt like peace, not punishment. Thank you for watching.